What up, YouTube? You already know Big Lou tapping back in with what it do with Big Lou. NFZR2, baby. So, yeah, check it out. I'm going to say the normal spill. First time you're coming to the channel, highly appreciate it. If you sub, like to share the channel with your family, friends, folks, peoples, gente, buddies, pals, amigos, and like us Puerto Ricanos say, panas, right? Um, Hope everybody was able to see today when I introduced Maybelline, aka May for short, uh, a direct daughter of the legend himself, Horchata, uh, who is a production of Dusty Mundrix. That name might not mean nothing to you, right? This video is not about dogs, but I'm just gonna say this part. That name might not mean nothing to you, but if you do know anything about the American Bullies at all, there's many dogs, and shouts out to BGK, Big Gemini Kennel. He did a video on the XL legends of the game. There's like 15 of them, I believe he mentions, and then he mentions some honorable mentions. Out of the legends, the 15 legends he names, all of them have passed except for Hulk from DDK. I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Hulk is from DDK. He's the big brown, the chocolate male that's been on Good Morning America or Good Day, whatever. He's been on a lot of shows, and they had their own reality show. I think they're up in New Hampshire or something like that. And Marlin's the owner. Anyways, that was the only dog that's living that was in the legends. And they also mentioned a dog named Markov, uh, who was produced by Dusty. And also on the honorable mention side, they named a few dogs, Morphosis, and BGK has a Morphosis son, which is Gambino, who's also proved to be a producer. So we have producers producing producers that produce producers. So basically, great grandfather has kid, then have kid, right? And these boys keep producing nice big boys after, so on and so forth, generation after generation. So Morphosis is Horchata brother, same litter. Okay, they also mentioned, like I said, they mentioned Markov, which that's one of his dogs. They mentioned Woodland. Woodland is Horchata's son. All right, they mentioned him as an honorable mention, and and like I said, Morphosis, which was actually his creation, and he sold that dog to Monster Bully Kennel, and that dude gets shots out to Dusty. He did today. So I picked up a direct daughter of Horchata today, and it so happens to be my female Daisy's mother's litter mate sister. Um, and I dropped a short showing her. First, the short is starting off showing a big chocolate tri male named Goliath, and Jason from Hurley's Pride Kennel was stacking them, and I had him on the camera on the short. And then I said, if it all goes right, we're gonna take this big fella to her, and I take the camera and to my back seat, and I show May, who's the female, who is Daisy's aunt. Okay, so if everything goes right, we'll take those two together, and then on her final breeding, hopefully Champ is popped by then, and we'll take him to her in her retirement breeding, and then that we'll retire her. She won't breed no more. Uh, so that was just a little something I dropped on you guys. I got a couple more short videos I'll be dropping on her. And also today I did basically was like part one to on a, when you're getting a puppy, what to expect, what to do, what not to do, and it would end up turning into like kind of like a part one, because there's just so much stuff that's involved when you're getting a puppy. You know what I mean? Just a dog in general, but puppies are more, they're more hands on because they're learning, they're still young and all that. As you can see, that one popping his head out behind me. So we just took a ride to get something to eat. Then I came out to gas up for tomorrow. Um, back to work. Magnificent Monday. Some people call it Moody Monday, but nonetheless, it's back to work Monday, right? And so, anyways, this video is, I seen a video today from another channel, and this question is always brought up, and it's always there's always a false narrative that's put behind this, again, and I've already kind of touched on this before, but this the video was about, did John J. Gotti, the father, right, who they called John Senior, but in all reality, John J. Gotti, John Joseph Gotti, the man who later became known as Senior, John Senior, father to John Jr., which in all reality, John Jr. is not really a junior. His middle name is Angelo. His father's middle name was Joseph. Well, the one they call John Sr. in reality is really John Jr., right? His father was a senior and he was a junior. So don't want to get people confused. But the question keeps, well, it's more of a statement, right? And then the question, too, because people will put it in a question form and then some people will put it in a statement form. That first they'll say he single-handedly brought him down, and then they'll also say that he uh, um, uh, did he bring him down single-handedly. Now, come on, how can one man single-handedly bring down an entity of, just in New York City alone, roughly 1,000 guys, made guys, and then you got, Buffalo, you got New Jersey, you got Philly, you got the New England area, you got Florida. You know what I mean? You got who else you got? You got Detroit, Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, Cleveland, uh, Milwaukee, L.A., Dallas, Denver. You know what I mean? I think I pretty much clicked. San Jose, San Francisco. Well, this is, I don't know when they became obsolete. San Jose, San Francisco, because they always were a small family. Those were always small families, but L.A. was definitely around until that Kenji Gallo fucking situation, which was not that long ago. You know what I mean? And then now you hear, Colombo guys are in L.A., which was around that time, because some of those guys were Colombo guys. Some of them were straight up L.A. guys, California dudes, and then you had now they say one of the Gambino sons are out here in L.A. Well, down south. I don't know which one it is. Tommy, I think it's Tommy Gambino, and they say he represents the Gambinos from New York, but he's out here in L.A. Um, just imagine if the way the way they work things back east, right? If you had the five families were out here in California, could you imagine what they would have done, what they could have done? With having Disneyland and having all the studios and just imagine what kind of rackets they could have had. What kind of rackets they could have had, and they got a bad rap from the guys back east because they weren't, in their opinion, they should have been hitting them hard, like they did back east. So, anyways, at that time when he takes over, Castellano gets killed on December 16, 1985, right? Frankie the Chico gets blown up I think it was April 13th, 86. So you're talking, like, what is that? 4 months? December, January, February, March, April. 4 months. He gets blown up, killed. Underboss positions open. I believe that's when he elevates Joe Piney from capo regime to underboss, right? Um, and that was that was done purposely, strategically, because Joe Piney was an old timer, and I believe Joe Piney was from Manhattan, I believe, but if not Brooklyn, then. But anyways, nonetheless, he was an old school cat, right? And so he could be there for those other old time cats that were his age or a little bit older, that had been around. You know what I'm saying? And he was utilized in that position, and then he goes away along with Joe and Gallo, and then they end up. I think Frankie Loke was underboss first, and Sammy was the Cancegliere, and then they flop positions, right? Uh, so you're talking, from 1986 up until December of 1990 when Gotti, Sammy, and Frankie Loke get taken in, right? That was what I think that was December 11th, I believe, 1990. And then Sammy ends up flipping November of 91. So almost a year. Um, you know, they're fighting a case at MDC Brooklyn. Um, but what else is going on during that time is, you got what was going on up in Philly, right? You had Nicky Scarfo, and he was sending his goons to tax anybody that was doing dirt, crime in that area. I don't know if I can't remember if it was West Philly, South Philly, North Philly. I don't remember, but I know one part of town they were jamming up everybody. Dope dealers, people that had the bag, people that were on the corners, gang members. Also, they hit up the pagans for tribute anybody that was doing crime, like I said, and the pagans are like fuck you, right? So they had that problem. Then shortly after that, they started having internal conflict for power. That was a little bit after Scarfo went away, but all during that time that I'm speaking of now, during the John Gotti eras, you had them doing a lot of killings up there in Philly. You know what I'm saying? Then bring it back to New York, and you had the Colombo Wars. The Third War was about to kick off, and it was about to kick off, and it was during a little bit during this time, because according to Larry Mazza, it started a little bit before um, it was actually put in the media that there was an internal conflict. He said a few bodies came up here and there, and in the late '80s. Then you have the Colombos about to start their third war. In that third war, that third internal war they had, I believe there was 14 people that actually died. So if 14 actually died, how many got shot at, things of that nature, right? It even got to the point where the district attorney came after the Colombos tough, right? So how could that not bring heat, right? Okay, then you got the Lucchese's, you got Musso and Gas Pipe. They're over there killing good captains, loyal captains, because they might have had a dream, some type of dream or something, and so he got to go, right? And then go after somebody's sister and just doing all kinds of fucking off the wall shit, man. That what a mistake fucking Dux Corallo made by appointing these fucking clowns, right? I mean, I'm just saying what he was probably thinking at the time. I think Caso, I think he pulled the wool over Amuso's eyes, thinking that he was doing different things, but actually he was doing dirt all along, scandalous shit. And then I believe he had some he used some manipulation tactics over Amuso, and I think Amuso just was not, he was a little bit gullible on that, you know what I'm saying? And he fell for it, and so dude was, basically doing what he wanted to do. But he finally snapped out of it, and I don't know if he put him on the shelf or he just deemed him no good when he got locked up, because he felt like he dined him out. Um, so, anyways, you had all them killings going on, right? You had Buddy Luongo, you had uh, uh, Faciola, you know what I mean? You had Chiodo get shot and then survive because of all his fat on him and saved him, right? Even Diarco, he seen something that was going to happen before it happened, and he got out of there. Um, excuse me. You had a lot of other guys that got killed, right? The New Jersey guys, they were all scared to death. They thought they were all going to die because Tumac. I guess Corallo was allowing Tumac to pretty much have free reign up there in Jersey, and Corallo wasn't a greedy person, and he was only these guys were only kicking up. And this is the number I've heard. I don't know how correct this is. I heard it was only like 50,000 he was giving them a year. That ain't shit, right? Obviously probably Christmas and any other type of known holidays, they were probably kicking the boss some big envelopes. For sure Christmas, that probably had nothing to do with that 50,000. But what is 50,000 like that? That should be like probably every month probably for your crew, 50,000, or every 2 months. You know what I mean? 50 G's wasn't shit, but so when Amuso and Caso took over, they were like, oh no, that number's gonna come up. And I don't know what they were asking for, but I've heard different things, and that they wanted like half or something like this, some outrageous number. You know what I mean? Just think about what Paul Castellano was bouncing up his he was his tribute. He was asking, I think originally like 10% or something like that, and then he bounced it up to 15 or 20%. The guys were complaining about that. So just imagine if your boss is asking for 20% of your illicit money from criminal activities, compared to your boss asking for 50%. What a difference. But you got guys complaining that the boss went from only asking for 10% up to 15 or 20, so 5 or 10% increase, and they're harping on that, which I understand why they're harping. Well, my point to all that is, here you got another family and they're asking for 50%. I mean, you know, how would the soldiers like that? You know what I'm saying? Um, me personally, I could never understand why bosses would be so greedy like that when most of these guys were already multimillionaires and they had a lot of not only illegal businesses, but they had a lot of legal businesses, money coming in. Hey, shh, man, Daisy snores so loud, Jesus. Hey, hey, and then like I go, hey, she's still snoring. Don't even, hey, shh. Um, So, anyways, to say John Gotti, oh, he was flamboyant, he was always in the media. Da, da, da. Well, he was in the media. He ended up getting caught on tape later on, but I believe in those first few years, up until those Ravenite tapes, they couldn't get him really on nothing. But here you got the bosses just before his reign, with the bosses of the other families along with him. What I mean by that is the commission case the bosses that were on the commission case, they all got caught on wiretaps, all of them, right? They ain't got 100 years. I think the only one that didn't get caught on wiretaps was maybe Rastelli. I could be wrong about that. Anybody in the comment section correct me. But Rastelli, I believe, wasn't caught on no tape because I believe too he was locked up for most of that investigation. But because he was a boss, they just automatically threw him in it. But then later they found out that they weren't even on the commission because of the Donnie Brasco fiasco and all that. And so that, and I believe the Pizza Connection thing, they were their seat was lost on the commission. Not until fast forward until the '90s, Joe Messino was when they regained their seat back. Um, because by that time, Joe Messino had put them in a great position, of straight powerhouse money making mofos. You know what I'm saying? And up until that point, the Bananos really never had no cooperating witnesses. But boy, did that change when that shit happened. You're talking about, you've heard what's his name, Sakali say that a lot of those guys shouldn't have been made. So Cantarella, his son, uh, Coppola, um, TG. I've heard he was a gangster. Also, Sal Vitale shouldn't have been made. Ex correctional officer. Um, what's his name? Frank Lino. Frank Lino. He didn't really say Frank Lino shouldn't have been made, but Frank Lino, that family comes from I don't know how far back the generation. I don't know if his father and his uncles were gangsters too, but it's him. Eddie Lino's a cousin. Then there's Robert Lino, and there's a couple other Linos that are his brothers, I believe, and the Bonanos. So they come from wise guy. They got wise guy blood running through them. But eventually he ends up flipping, and so what ends up happening with the Bonanos, they end up having like 8, 10, 12 fucking captains, and majority of them were higher ranking guys flipping on Joe Messino, and then Joe ends up losing the case in trial. Now he's looking at death penalty and stuff like that, and then he decides to put the wire on and save his family from being you know basically from everything being taken from him. All businesses, all assets, everything. And so he worked some deal where instead of $25 million worth of money and assets being seized, they only took like a house and a little bit of money. I'm not sure what the number is, but I do know from what I read, I don't know how accurate it is, but from I read in a couple of books that he was worth like say $25 million, with property and money, and he owned a few homes and they owned a few businesses. I know the government forced him to shut a couple of businesses down, and then I guess, not I guess, from what I remember, I should have said the home they owned in Queens. They allowed his wife to keep that one, but they took another one. I think they took another one like a vacation home or something like in the Poconos or something, or the Hamptons or something. I don't remember exactly where location, but you know, uh, supposedly he did that for his family, but I don't even think him and his wife are even together now. From what I heard, I've heard Jeff Nadeau say this a few times. He's somewhere in Florida and he's alone, living like in a assisted living location, something like that. So you got to figure Joe Messino now. I think he's born in '43, if I remember correctly. He's almost 80 years old. 80 years old. Yeah, 43. I think he's born. So he's almost 80 or almost 80, depending on what month's his birthday. And he had a wife, a couple of kids, and girls, daughters. I think they're not, from my understanding, they're not even in each other's lives or have communications. So all those bosses got caught on wiretap. If it was the feds breaking in their homes, which that's what they did to Castellano, breaking into people's cars like they did at Avellino, breaking into their businesses like they did at I forgot the name of the restaurant on the Columbos on Carroll Street. That's how they got Jerry Lang bugging the table. They broke into social clubs, bugged the social clubs like the what is it called, the Palma Boys Social Club in Harlem. That was Fat Tony Salerno's spot. You know, they did that, and I believe that shouldn't be right. I don't think they should be able to break in somebody's house because they're supposed to be able to listen, and if they don't hear nothing criminal being spoken about, they're supposed to turn that recorder off. But how do you really know that bug? But how do you really know they're really doing it? You know what I mean? Here they are listening to personal stuff. Maybe somebody else in the family's, on there. I just don't think they should do that. If you can't if you can't make any dents, doing the old school police work, or you can't break nobody to become an informant, then you should just leave it alone, or do your investigation, but don't never do anything crooked. You know what I'm saying? And there's probably been a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? It seems these law enforcement agencies and local, sheriff department, local police departments, it seems like so many different times that they'll hold a grudge against, you know, quote unquote, suspects, defendants, right? If they can't catch them like they think they're going to catch them numerous times over, they end up taking the shit personal. And then who knows how dirty and janky it can get, you know what I'm saying? So, uh, it's just something to think about, something to make a video about, something to talk about, and he even said too, the guy that made the video, that he don't believe that that John J. Gotti, took down the mob because of his actions. He didn't say that at all. He was more on the, it was more of just bringing it up than to actually second it or double down on it. You know what I'm saying? He did say he didn't agree with how some of the things John did in public, which I can agree to that. But as far as him, what more too, what it was too was like the brother, you know, because he put a rule out there, no deals, because in his opinion, if you took a deal, it was pleading guilt. It was like admitting your guilt. And this guy wouldn't even help his own defense. Like if there was some documents he needed to get, or he wouldn't even help assist his defense because he felt it was a form of ratting, a trip. And then the guy met, and then another show. Well, no, it was the same show. He said that you know the brother wasn't allowed to take a deal, and then later on it was a contradiction because he allowed his son to take a deal. I don't think John, the dad, ever green lighted or okayed John Jr. to take a deal. John Jr. did that on his own, I believe. And from my understanding, John Sr. stopped talking to John Jr. for a minute there because of him doing that. So I don't know where this guy got that from. Um, because as far as I know, he never approved it, even after the fact. He never approved him taking that deal. Because in his mind was you take it to trial and they got to find you guilty in trial, and that's how pops. John Sr. wanted to handle cases, and everybody from the family, anybody from the family that was fighting the case, he wanted them to do it just that way. So uh, so that's where it is with that. But I'm gonna double down on, triple down, quadruple down on at all and any times that this man did not bring down them single handedly. It was more of the RICO that scaring guys with such big numbers that would cause these guys to end up ratting and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So um, the government had the upper hand, and that's why it is the way it is now. That's why it's really not prevalent like it used to be, because they have full control. They got, well, what I mean by that is they got the fear factor of people getting 50 years, 100 years is in the air still. So they don't even like hurt people. They decide to shelf them instead of hurting them or killing them or whatever. But I guess that's a good thing, because a lot of times these guys, the offenses that they get killed for are not even, usually it's some guys politicking, against another guy for either, obviously power, but a lot of times it could be money. You know what I mean? Which happens, I think, more than any other reason why. So just a little something, like I said. So with that being said, Big Lou's gonna tap on out. I got to get to bed and get at least a couple hours of sleep because 4 o'clock comes like that. Alarm's going off. It's a rooster. And, I got to get up, get dressed, and roll out, by 4:30, meet my son to pick him up at my dad's, and then get on the highway, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate each and every one of you guys that's gonna watch this video once it's uploaded, and I'll catch you on the next one. Hopefully I go live tomorrow on Monday. What's tomorrow? The 18th? And the 8th? No. 6th, 15th, 16th, 17th. The 17th. I don't know what time yet though, so we'll figure it out. Also, the 18th, Wednesday, is that the 18th? Let's see, 15th was Saturday, 16th Sunday, 17th Monday, 18th Tuesday, the 19th. Excuse me, we're having a guest on live stream. It's going to be either 8:30 Eastern time or not or, which is 5:30 Pacific time. Mikey DeLeonardo Jr. will be on to speak about his cousin Frankie DeChico. And hopefully you guys can tap in and ask him any questions, anything like that. So with that being said, Big Lou, Daisy, Champ, tapping out.